Hey, everybody, welcome to the Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. This is the first time we've ever had somebody come on for the second time here in the podcast. Nobody else has ever been invited back twice. Actually, people have been invited, they just haven't been able to come. But this is the first time somebody's been here for the second time. So, dude, I appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely, man. I had such a good experience. I had to come back for more.
Perfect. Well, today we're gonna give a lot of people here some free game with the credit stuff and funding and things like that. Things that I think will blow people's minds, like getting funding pretty easily to start a business, things like that. Before we dive into that, though, if this is their first time seeing you again, or not seeing you again, but first time seeing you, who is Shawn Sharma and what does he do?
Absolutely. So I would definitely encourage you to watch the previous podcast we did. It was a banger. We literally talked about my come up story, growing up in a trailer park off $600 a month, using my credit, getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit, and then using that to start a business. And really, I feel like that was the edge because I had that credit. I was then able to use that to become a millionaire. And then, obviously lost it, got it again, and really figured out okay, cool. This is how someone else could replicate all of this. And the main thing was credit, right?
Yeah.
And so I talked a lot about that in the previous episode, but this episode we're really going to get into the tactics.
Right, right. So for those that are listening and they hear that they can get credit, they can get funding. How easy is it for somebody that doesn't have a business to get funding up to like you said $100,000 so they can actually start living their dream?
Absolutely. So it's a funny story because I was actually watching a meme the other day, and they were making fun of all these people that teach people about business credit and how you can get all this money. And they were like, the only way you can walk into a bank with an LLC and nothing else and go get $100,000.
I've seen that.
Is if you walk in there with a gun, right? And I was laughing because it's partially true, but it's not, because the truth is you could have a brand new business you start today, but you're going to be able to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding for it if you have a strong personal credit profile. And a lot of people don't understand that you could literally go build that strong personal credit profile in a matter of 3 months.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a formula once you figure out the game. So,
And I think this is very valuable to the audience because for people that, let's say have a 9 to 5 or something like that, they usually have pretty decent credit. I'd say going more towards the entrepreneurs where they they really don't have good credit and they kind of fuck that up and they use a lot of cash and debit and stuff like that. For what does a strong personal credit profile look
absolutely,
like?
that's a great question. So, a lot of people, they think you need to have authorized user accounts, but really you got to have primary accounts. It means that the account is actually in your name. You're the one that applied for it. You're responsible for it. You need to have at least 3 credit card accounts with at least $10,000 limits. And so the average person, you can go apply for a Discover card or go to a small credit union like Navy Federal. Believe it or not, a lot of these small credit unions like Navy Federal, First Tech Credit Union, Digital Credit Union, PenFed even, if you build a relationship with them, you open a checking account, you do your direct deposit there, you open a savings account. If you wait 3 to 6 months and you apply for a credit card, they'll end up giving you a card that's over $10,000 just because you've been a good customer of theirs for that long. Whereas if you went to Discover, Amex, or Chase right out of the gate, they might only give you $1,000 limit. So
Yeah.
depending on which ones you apply for first, with Discover, you can still get up to 10K. You're just going to have to do these credit limit increases every 3 months until you get it above 10K. But once you have 3 credit cards, that's all you need. You have 3 credit cards over 10K. Now it would shift over to the business side. And the reason you shift over to the business side is because they'll give you way bigger limits because banks like lending to businesses. And then secondly, that business credit, you can actually max it out and use it, because the mistake most people make, the reason most entrepreneurs have bad credit is they might have gotten a few credit cards and they max them out to start a business or flip a house.
Mhm.
But the second you do that, your score tanks. And once your score tanks, a lot of these banks, they start closing those credit card limits, right?
Yep.
And so you really got to leverage on the business side. And it's just something that people don't teach us. Even when I started out, I was using my personal credit. I didn't even know you were supposed to leverage the business until I saw my scores fall, credit cards get closed, and I was like, oh, wait, no, I need to be leveraging the business side because this doesn't report at all to my report.
Right, right. So how does someone make that transition? They got to get LLC set up.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can literally go apply for an LLC, and the same day you have the LLC made, you can now be eligible to apply for business credit cards. But another thing too is if you didn't want to pay the $150, which I have people that don't do that, you could literally go get business credit as a sole proprietor. People don't know this. So
Yeah.
every single individual could be a sole proprietor, and that just means that you do some consulting or you do some service work on the side. You don't have an LLC, you're doing it as yourself. Now, there's a lot of negatives to that because you don't have the same write-offs, right? It's really good to make an LLC because the second you make an LLC, you can write off your mileage, you can write off your hotels, your meals. I come out here, I could write off the whole trip, right? And I'm actually going to save a lot of my money on taxes, right? But you could still apply for business credit as a sole prop, and all you would do is you would just put your social security number as the EIN, you would put your name as the business name, and I've seen my students get $150,000 from Chase on the business side as a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to really have an LLC, but of course I would definitely recommend it because in the long run, when you have an LLC, you get all these tax benefits. You're going to get a lot of benefits when you actually run your actual business, and then also the one thing I'll say is like it's very difficult. It's easy to get credit cards as a sole proprietor. You get hundreds of thousands of dollars in 0% credit cards. But when you want to get lines of credit, these are like actual cash like accounts where you can take the money out, use it, and you get charged an interest rate. There's a lot of different banks that give you, up to $100,000 in lines of credit on the business side. You're only going to be able to get those if you have an LLC.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I just had a brain fart. But for people that are looking for like the business credit, how realistic is it to get to $100,000 in funding, and how quickly?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you already have a 700 plus credit score and you have no negative items on your credit, and if you have at least those three credit card accounts with 10K plus limits, you go get 100K within 72 hours. So it's very, very easy. The one thing I think people mess up on is they don't know what banks to apply for in what order. So a lot of people like see online like, oh, you can go open 10 different credit cards in a single day. You can, but the thing is that some banks are way more sensitive than others. So for Chase, for instance, they're
like
super.
Stuff?
Yep, they have the 524 rule where it's very difficult to get. They're not going to approve you at all if you've opened more than 5 accounts in the last 24 months, right? And you want to make sure you apply for Chase first just because they have the best rewards, have the biggest limits on the business side. They're also 0% business credit cards, right? So I would prioritize them. You could still go apply for 10 cards, but you got to know which ones to put early in the application cycle. The second mistake most people make is they just go ahead and apply online, which is good. But a lot of times, you're going to end up getting sent to the identity verification department. They're going to try to verify all your info. If you don't call in, they're just going to automatically deny the application. But if you instead did the application in branch, or you built a relationship with a relationship banker, right, and you just had them they can actually send you a DocuSign. So all my clients, they don't actually go to the bank. They literally get an email from Chase or US Bank or all these big banks.
Yeah.
And they just literally just talk to a person one-on-one. Like they get a DocuSign, they fill out the DocuSign. The person says, hey, like the underwriter said you can't get the 75K, but we can give you 60. Is that cool?
Right.
And so a lot of people don't understand that like banks literally have relationship managers and they're incentivized to issue as much credit as possible on behalf of the bank.
Oh,
so
shoot.
if you actually go ahead and find a business banker or a wealth manager or a relationship manager at Chase or Bank of America, you're going to have a much easier time getting a ton of funding because that's what their job is. They're trying to get people as clients for the bank.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you don't get the maximum amount you want, they'll advocate for you. They'll go talk to the underwriter on your behalf. So a big thing in the credit game that people, have become aware of is that there's a reconsideration department. So anytime you apply for a card, if you're denied, right, people don't understand. They think, oh, I got denied, that's it. But I tell people like 50% of your approvals, like let's say I applied for 10 cards and I got approved for like 6 or 7, people don't understand that 3 or 4 of those were from reconsideration.
Yeah.
You had to call in, you had to reconsider it, you had to ask a human to give you a second chance. And sometimes you might even do the reconsideration to get a bigger limit. You might get 10K right out of the gate, but then you call reconsideration. You say, hey, listen, like my business needs me to be able to spend $50,000 a month. Is there a way I can get a higher limit? I really want to move over my spend to you guys. What can you guys do? Because I currently bank with Amex, but I want to bank with Chase.
Yeah.
And so they'll then give you the 50K, right? Because then a human will look at your credit profile and they'll make a decision. And so a lot of people just don't understand the value of having that individual do it for you. So when you're working with this relationship manager, they're going to talk to the underwriter. They're going to say, hey, my client Shawn, I think he's a really good candidate to get, $100,000 with us. I think we should give him this card. And then the underwriter is going to say, oh, well, shoot, like if the Chase banker is saying this, let me go ahead and do it, right?
And they already know them, though? Like, they already know the underwriter, or is it a different underwriter every time?
So it's a different person in Chase, but it just holds so much more weight that the banker is doing it on your behalf, right?
Instead of you calling the reconsideration.
Right, because they vetted your business, right? Like when the Chase banker calls in and they say, hey, like, Shawn, he has this big brand on social media. He teaches people about X, Y, and Z. Like, I think he'd be a good candidate to get a $50,000 card from us, right? I think the 10K is too small of a limit.
Yeah.
The underwriter is going to say, oh, okay, cool. Like the underwriter assumes that like you have a relationship with the banker, and the banker is like really advocating for you,
Right,
right?
right.
And if you weren't a good candidate, like the banker wouldn't do that, right? If you had a 400 credit score and you had like 10 negative items, they're not even going to do
Yeah.
that, right? So, but it's more powerful than you doing it yourself, right? Because it's one thing for me to say like, hey, I'm going to bring all my business to Chase. I'm like a good customer. I have good credit. Like I'm responsible. I really need 50K a month to spend. But if when the banker does it, bro, it's game over. Like you're getting approved way more and you're getting way bigger limits.
Yeah. For the underwriter, isn't it their job to kind of like vet and scrutinize and like,
So
kind of like
Yep.
disqualify you in a way?
So they have two jobs, right? So the way the banks make money is they actually issue credit. So people don't understand this. So they think, I get asked all the time, like people are like, why would the bank give me money at 0% for me to use to take risk? Like it doesn't make sense. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
And so the thing is like, you're using other people's money to make money. The bank, guess what they're doing? They're using other people's money to make money too. The money you deposited in the bank in your checking account, they took that money and they lended it out to everyone, right? If they leave it sitting there, they're not going to make any money. Like the big lie that Americans have been told is like we should save all our money, but we don't make any money when we save it, right? Even the bank, they don't save your money and leave it there. They take and they lend it out to everybody. And if people default on it, it doesn't matter because they're just going to end up making more interest off of the people that do pay versus the people that
Right.
don't. So even on the 0% cards, it's only for 12 months. Some of them are 18 months, but after that period's over, the interest rate goes to 29%.
Yeah.
Right. So they're banking on the fact that some of these people, yes, like maybe they're going to get into trouble, not pay. Some of them are going to pay within the period, right? You might take the 100K and 0% credit. You might find a business opportunity because I don't use my own money. Like if I find a business opportunity, I'll use my credit. I'll put 100K into it. I'll flip it and then I'll pay back just what I borrowed. If I turn it into 150, the 50K is just profit. I only owe the 100, right? So some people will do that. But then there's a third class of people that will get into interest and they'll pay the 30% interest for 30 something years. And then they'll end up paying like 400,000 instead of the
Yeah.
100, right?
Yeah.
So, I forgot your question, but
So basically, the job of the underwriter.
oh yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, so the first thing they're trying to do is they're trying to basically make money for the bank. So they want to issue as much credit as possible, right? So never lose sight of that, right? If they can issue more credit, they're going to do it. But the second thing their job is to limit the loss. So all they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure they don't give the credit to the people that are going to max it out right away and never pay it and then run off with the money and then literally just default, causing the bank a big loss. So this is why, like, if you go to Navy Federal and you have no real credit, but if you create a checking account, a savings account, you do your direct deposit there, you like just do all your banking transactions on the debit card.
They'll see the cash flow and
They,
things
they
like
see that you're like using the account so much, they're like, this guy's not gonna just like default on us. Like
Right.
he's really a good customer. Like he's banking with us. Let's just go ahead and give him a 10K card instead of $1,000 limit, right?
Yeah.
Because you gotta think Navy Federal and a lot of the small credit unions, they're competing against Chase. So like one way that they're gonna get you to be a customer for life is like, okay, cool, we'll give him a $5,000 card, we'll give him a $20,000 card. We'll be the first to help him build his credit. But then, on the flip side, we're going to make all the money off overdraft fees when he gets a mortgage, when he gets an auto loan, right? So the underwriters for sure, like they will deny you if you're not credit worthy. But if you are, then it's more so a game of just like sending in your applications the correct way, right? And making sure like you're working with a relationship manager, making sure you're applying for these cards in the right order. And making sure you have an LLC too, because like you want to make sure you get business credit, right? If you don't get business credit, if you apply personal cards, you're gonna have a terrible time trying to get a lot of funding because it's gonna be capped to your income.
Yeah.
When you apply for business credit, it's not capped to your income because a lot of these business cards, they'll literally lend to you based on what you project you're gonna make. It's not even based on what you've already made. You could start a brand new business today. It's a brand new business. They know I started it today, but they're still gonna give me a lot of limits because they know I'm gonna use this money to hopefully make more money.
Right. Damn, dude, that's crazy. In terms of the business banking, like how far up can you go? Because you're mentioning like you can get a couple 100,000 within 72 hours, things like that. But I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
you've leveraged it to millions.
I have students right now that have gotten, like I have one student, his name's Justin. He's out in Houston. He's gotten over $1 million in business credit in just the last 12 months.
Damn.
And the strategy with the business credit side is every time you apply for some new business credit and you get approved, it doesn't show on your personal credit report, right?
Right.
And so that's very important because when we do it on the personal side, every time I apply for more personal credit, the banks are looking at how much total credit I have, right? Once I get to 100, 200, 300K, they're like, dang, Ulyses has so much credit. Like, we don't want to give him too much credit. What if he just defaults on everybody and runs off with it, right? That's so much money. Like,
That's true.
and they compare it to your income. So every time you're trying to get more personal credit, they're like, well, what's his income? Like, is his income supporting like this amount of credit? The good thing about the business is you could literally get more business credit and they don't know you've gotten it, right? So I
Yeah.
could go to like 3 or 4 banks every single month, apply for business credit cards, get approved from them, and then just keep repeating the cycle every month. And a lot of people don't know, like, it's very easy to find 0% business credit cards. You just go on the Visa, like the Visa website and even the MasterCard website too, and you can literally search up co-branded products, like credit card products with Visa or whatever, and they'll show you like, oh, your local credit union here offers a Visa business card, and you can
Yeah.
go to the website and it'll say it's 0% for 12 months. So there's hundreds and hundreds of 0% business cards that people don't know about. The big banks are just very good at marketing, so everyone knows about Chase's Ink cards, but you can literally get hundreds of thousands from like no-name banks in your local area.
Yeah.
I had a kid that's in Oklahoma, and he ended up getting tons of credit just from his local banks. I think he went to the Bank of Oklahoma. He got like 3 business cards from there. So you can continue doing the business game forever. There's not really a limit to it, right?
Yeah.
The only thing you're going to run into on that side is that, obviously, like, you can never have your personal credit fall, right? Because all these business approvals are based on your personal credit report being super strong. So you never want to leverage your personal credit at all. You want to keep it like spotless. You want to keep it clean. You want to make sure everything is below 10% utilization.
Mm-hmm.
On the business side, you can max out all of those cards. So as long as you keep the personal right, every time you apply for these business cards, you're going to get approved.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart. And what happens? Because people are probably thinking, like, great, I'd love to do that. What happens if the business fails and you default?
Yeah, so the U.S., it's actually not against the law to be in debt. A lot of people don't understand that, but America's built on second chances. This is why they have all these laws. Like Donald Trump's filed bankruptcy multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's been, with the bank's money. Sometimes it's been with normal people's money, right? And there's no real harm in doing that as long as it's not like fraudulent, right? So if I was to go get all this credit and just go buy, a bunch of Dior and a Lamborghini, and I was like, oh man, I'm sorry guys, like it didn't work. I tried business, right?
Yeah, then you're
definitely
defrauding the bank, basically.
Definitely going to lead to a court case there, right?
Yeah.
But if I actually start a business, I start a nail salon, and guess what? Like COVID happened, it failed. Banks don't care. They're going to be all right with it. That's part of their underwriting. They know people fail all the time, right? And it's crazy, but once I go ahead and fix my credit, I can just go do it again, right? And the banks might even give me more money if I'm already in debt. Let's say like I'm struggling, I've maxed out these cards, I'm $100,000, $200,000 in debt. There's other banks that might give me loans at maybe 30, 40% interest, right? Because they're like, well, shoot, maybe he'll turn it around, right?
Yeah.
And so
That's true. Yeah.
America's built on debt. That's the whole economic system, right? Like the banks make money on debt, the government makes money on debt. People are the people that people like us pay the debt. But if you get smart and you get on the other side, then you can profit off of the debt as well, right? So that's the difference. I feel like the wealthy people know how to leverage debt to make themselves money, whereas the average person like loses more and more money. Because there's a statistic I read the other day where for every dollar the average person makes, they spend $1.04.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so it's like you can't get ahead, right, playing that game. But if you, instead of focusing on, what you're spending, and you focus on like how to just, make more money, because I think that's the problem. People are not able to make more. Even people that have like a business or a side hustle or something that's working, they can't make more money just because they don't have leverage, right? If you had the ability to go hire more employees to do the work you're already doing, or you had the ability to run ads, or you had the ability to just buy more inventory, like a lot of unprofitable businesses would literally double or triple their revenue overnight. And I think credit allows you to do that, right? So credit is literally what's going to help you like put fuel on the fire for your business, and then just get out of like, honestly, the rat race that most people are in.
Yeah. Yeah. But you got to find like either a good investment or a good business that like, for sure is going to make money or something like that. Because, not all companies succeed. There's a lot of them that
I mean,
fail.
definitely. I think like people getting credit, they don't have to use it right away, right? You can literally get a ton of credit. People have this like
That's true.
confused that like, oh, well, once I get the 100K, what do I do with it? Like, I'm going to get into trouble with it. I'm like, you literally have it on a credit card. You can just set the credit card to the side.
Yeah.
Use it in 6 months.
Yeah.
Use it in a year. Maybe just now that you have it as a resource, now you can spend your time and energy learning knowledge that'll help you now create a profitable income stream.
Right.
Right?
And
You don't have
can
to just go max it out right away.
Yeah. No, that's true. Because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, all right, take the whole 100 G's, put it into something.
That's what everyone thinks, because they're like thinking about the fast money. They're like, oh man, I'm gonna get this 300K, but what if I get into trouble? And I'm like, bro, just sit on it for 3 months. Like you'll find the right opportunity to make money, because there's opportunities right now that everyone gets, but they just can't take advantage of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cause like, for example, as in like an agency, you could use like 20 grand of it, 5 grand each split into different lead gen, stuff and see whichever one hits, and then if you're making an ROI there, then perfect. You spent 20 grand to find like a marketing channel that works. And, so you don't necessarily have to use the entire thing. You can throw stuff at the wall, to kind of see what sticks, and you just have
Absolutely.
more opportunities.
And you don't even have to be an entrepreneur, man. This is what I tell people all the time. Like America, like you can make money in a lot of different ways. You can be an investor. You don't have to start a business yourself. You can be an investor and invest in people that already have a business,
Hmm.
right? Like you could be selling e-commerce products right now and I see you making money, but you could use more money for ads. And if I have my credit built, I can partner with you. I can put up the credit and now I'm making money even though I didn't figure out the whole game that you're playing, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was just the investor, right? And then you could also do like I've told people all the time, like the oldest way to build wealth in the US is just buying assets like real estate, stocks, any of that stuff. And, like if you look at Warren Buffett or any of these guys, yes, they have cash, but they're like super leveraged, right? They have a lot of leverage that they use to buy a lot of these assets. When the recession happened, I think there was a statistic that Goldman Sachs said like 95% of their wealth management clients that all have over, I think, nine figures invested with Goldman Sachs, they all leverage their money to buy more stocks,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas the average person is scared of leverage, right? But leverage is where you actually build wealth. Like you take other people's money and you multiply it.
Yeah, yeah. And for real estate or things like that, like what's the interest on the business credit that you end up getting? Because doesn't it have to make sense that way?
Yeah, so I mean, on the business side, I always teach people how to get the 0% business credit cards, just because now you have it for 12 months. So let's say you did do a fix and flip, or you did
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
something, and you're trying to like learn as you go. Let's say it didn't take you 3 months. Let's say it took you 9 months. Well, still you didn't have to pay any interest in that time
Sure.
frame, right? So, but I think like as you get more advanced and you have ways to make money, you could even take business credit with an interest rate. Like a lot of these lines of credit, I have students with lines of credit that are like 15% APR, but they're able to like take this money out. That's 15% for the year, by the way.
Yeah.
So if they only take it out for like a month, they're only paying like 1.5%.
Right.
But they'll take out this capital and they're okay paying the interest because they make way more than the interest rate.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's super smart. But what have you noticed that like your top students utilize the business funding for? Is it to yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing most people do. So I would say this is the order. If you're like an entrepreneur and you're starting out, you should invest in yourself first, because if you get a skill that can allow you to create a service-based business, like you have the skill of PR, right? And then you have the skill of marketing and branding. Once you learn that skill, you could do it for clients and charge them, infinitely forever, right? Like you can keep doing it forever and ever and ever. So now instead of having a normal job that pays $15 an hour, now your job could pay you thousands of dollars an hour because you created a job for you, right? So the first thing I tell people to do is like invest in yourself, get a new skill set, get a skill set that pays way more money. Second thing I would tell people to invest in, like before you go buy assets and all this stuff, right? Find a way to automate that business, because most people like they have a great skill, but they're not making the money they want to make because it's not really automated, right? And you automate it by either hiring people, building systems, and you kind of have to delegate, right? Once you do that, you're going to be able to make way more money than if you're just like hustling yourself, just doing that one skill. Because I'm sure you did press before and branding and marketing, but once you got a team, once you automated it, once you had a website you paid for, once you had your social media built out, that's when the business took off. That's when you went to, millions of dollars, right? So
Yeah.
I would say I would invest in that order: myself first, and then automating that service-based business. And then later on, when you have cash coming in, yeah, you can now start just buying assets or buying real estate or doing some stocks or doing some other type of stuff.
Yeah. So for people listening and they do want to start, getting business credit, where can they find, you guys or your services?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm really big on Instagram. It's at Shawn Sharma on Instagram. But my company is called Funding for Scale. The website's growwithfunding.com. We literally will show you exactly, like, based on where you're at, what's your game plan moving forward. We'll give you a game plan on how to get to the 100K, how to get beyond that. And if you have bad credit or if you have negative items, we'll even show you how to fix that or fix it for you. So, this service that we offer has helped so many people. We've gotten over 1,000 entrepreneurs, over $100 million in counting. So,
Nice.
it's a good service for me because I would honestly still be broke if I didn't have access to credit. Like credit was the thing that allowed me to start making money. And the first few businesses I did, they were only successful because I had credit. Because truth be told, like you're not going to succeed the first time you do something. And so if you have some wiggle room with capital, you can continue trying it until you do succeed. Because I think, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but, once a month passes, 2 months pass, a year passes, they got to go back to work and pay their bills,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like important to have that capital on hand. And I think that's like the big equalizer. People don't understand. They think like, oh man, he was born rich or his parents had money and that's why he's successful, right? Like they say Donald Trump had $1 million loan and that's why he's a billionaire. But what if you get the $1 million on credit? Like, now you have no excuse. Now it's
Yeah.
just like whoever does the most work wins. And that's what I want to teach people. I want to teach them the financial literacy to where they can actually go build wealth. They can do all these things. And credit's the foundation. Like literally anyone listening on this show can do this today. And they don't even need to pay me or pay anyone else. They could just start learning about this themselves. They just have to commit to it. And they can be the person in their family that, okay, cool, Shawn mastered credit. And this is why like our family now has wealth, right? You could be that for your family. So that's a big thing I want to leave them with.
No, powerful message, dude. Well, I appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure.